Getting live. Give me a break of that activity rings. We're live. Apple Sheep everywhere. It's your Sunday stream, which hopefully I can reach a lot more people that hopefully on a Sunday at least you're not working, you're not at school or whatnot, and you get a chance. Due to popular demand, that's why we're doing a weekend stream. Trying to do it at around Sundays at around 11 a.m. I think that gives people a chance to sleep in, get that alert, wake up, and watch it. Hello, Leafy, Melvin, Isaiah, Grimes, Brownie, Nicholas, Talon, Mr. J, Aiden, Shane, Austin, O'Brien. How's everyone doing this morning? How is everyone doing? We had some exciting things happen on Twitter yesterday. For those of you who don't know, but I'll wait. I'll wait for people to get in here first of all. It's a bit of a chilly morning in Northern California, in Oroville. It's a bit cold, and that made the office a bit cold, but that's fine. I kind of like the cold. It's refreshing. Oh, the Packers are winning. Okay. Not really a soccer guy, but I know. I just said that to upset you. Today we got a brand new wireless charger sent to me by the generous people at Bison. Sorry, I probably pronounced it wrong. Pisen. They make this little Qi wireless charger. I don't believe it's a fast charger, but it works. I've been using it. Just got another one. Yep, and it charges it just fine, and they sent it to me. So to that, I am very grateful. Thank you for sending it to me. But yeah, for those of you who don't know, so what happened was I thought of a counter argument that I did not include in my Unbox Therapy React video because that's been blowing up. That's been getting tons of views. At least for me, it is. For a Talos of Tech size channel, that's getting substantial amount of views, which is good. And I thought of a counter argument that I did not include in the video, which is that just because a particular product, and for him, he was saying the iPhone 10 is not worth it to anyone because the 5T is really, really good. And the iPhone 10 is not twice as good as the 5T. Therefore, the 10 is not worth it. So then I flipped that around and tried it again. And I found a Nexus 6 on Amazon that was $250. Okay, so now we've got an Android phone. Yes, it's old. Yes, I know. It's not a 2017 smartphone. But is it half as bad as the 5T? First of all, has a 6-inch Quad HD display. Same as 5T. It has stereo speakers, which the 5T does not have, and it also has wireless charging, which the 5T does not have. So I'm not trying to say that as to say that the Nexus 6 is better. There's no argument there. The 5T is a better phone, but is the 5T twice as good as the Nexus 6? Probably not. I mean, you can probably get a lot of things done. It's got a pretty decent camera. No, it doesn't have the super fast face unlock, but you're still getting Android. You're still getting some features that the 5T cannot supply. And all I'm saying is, just because you're willing to pay twice the price of another phone, just because it has a few extra features that are better, it is a better product, there's no denying that, it doesn't mean that you are wrong to like the 5T. So I just tweeted out at Unbox Therapy and said that, if you like the 5T for those extra features, no, it's not necessarily twice as good as a Nexus 6. You could buy two Nexus 6s for the same price. You could buy a Nexus 6 and an Xbox. That doesn't mean that the Nexus 6 is a better phone, though. You're still going to choose the 5T because it has those other features you care about, like the face unlock and the fingerprint scanner speed, that taller display. But even though there's a smaller phone with advantages over it, because of those few features that you appreciate more, and because it's a 2017 smartphone and you enjoy that, with the fast charging and USB-C, that extra $250, making its total price $500, is worth it to you. I was trying to make the same argument that because the iPhone 10 has those extra features that we appreciate, we're okay with paying twice the price. No one thinks that the 5T is half as good as the iPhone 10. It's a pretty good phone. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't have huge complaints with it. I don't find it very exciting, but I find the price point its primary feature. And for that reason alone, it's a very good product. It's a good deal. But that does not mean that it is a better buy over the iPhone 10 if those iPhone 10 exclusive features are worth it to you. He said in his video that he could not recommend it to anyone. It's like, no one should buy this because the 5T exists, which I disagree with. I'm saying, no, the iPhone 10 definitely has a certain audience. I never try to make the argument that the iPhone 10 is for everyone. This is not a phone every single person should buy. It's not like a why not? You should just buy this right now because why not? We understand iPhone 10 buyers that it's the most expensive smartphone basically on the market right now. Probably a few exceptions, but we get that it's expensive, but that does not dignify that it is a bad price. Okay. Anyway, no super chats yet. So yeah. Oh, anyway, where I was going with that, with the Unbox Therapy thing, is I tweeted at him about the Nexus 6 being half the price as the 5T, but is it half as bad? I didn't think so. He actually responded to it, which made me laugh because it made me wonder if he'd seen the reaction video. So for those of you who don't follow me on Twitter, which is fine, I don't care. I don't need you to be constantly. I don't need to be constantly plugging my Twitter all the time. If I know a ton of people who don't want to use Twitter. I didn't want to use Twitter for a long time, but he replied. What did he say? Let me read it to you. See, I just thought this was funny because, geez, where did it go? Did I lose it? I hope he didn't delete it. I have a screenshot of it, don't I? Shut up about Cracksbox Therapy. Oh, no, that's a different comment. I'm sorry. Where did it go? You'd think that something you get... Here it goes. Okay. Lewis, on Twitter, a verified Twitter account. It was him. I wonder if he saw my reaction video to it. I don't know. But he says, I think you've missed the point. I prefer the 5T, and, in all caps, it's half the price. Tweeting from it right now, and I've got every flagship on the planet. Okay. All right, so... no, I don't think he's watching this, and no, I don't think he saw my response to it on Twitter. I'm sure he gets tweeted at all the time. He was probably just browsing through it, and then all of a sudden saw mine and replied to it really quickly, and then probably it got lost into his abyss of tweets. I'm pretty sure the largest tech channel on YouTube. I can't think of a tech channel that's larger than him. And keep in mind, guys, if you want me to talk about something else, Super Chat's the best way to change the topic. I will read every Super Chat to the best of my ability. But that's a pretty good chance of that. But anyway, I thought this was interesting because it's something that is bringing a lot of attention to the channel, and it was about Lou on Unbox Therapy, and now the fact that he's replying to me and stuff like that, I just found interesting. So first of all, I don't think I missed the point. The point being that he likes the 5T, and because the 5T exists, the iPhone 10 is not worth it. I got that. I'm not sure why he had to respond with, I missed the point, because my point with this tweet was that there are other phones half the price as the 5T that are not half as bad. That doesn't mean that you should never buy the 5T. So I replied to him on that. You can see it. I replied to him twice, and I said, you're not wrong to like your 5T. That's the argument I'm trying to make. My argument is that because those 5T has those extra features, that no, don't make the phone twice the price of a Nexus 6. I mean, it is twice the price, but it doesn't mean that the 5T is worthless because the Nexus 6 exists. Okay, that's a tongue twister. What I was trying to say is that for those single-handed features, and like I included in the tweet, there are several things that the Nexus 6 has that the 5T doesn't. You know, like the stereo speakers and the wireless charging, and it's still a 6-inch quad HD display, which is an equivalent display to the 5T. And it's a 16:9, I think, opposed to the 5T's new ratio. So I'm just saying that, no, the Nexus 6 is not better. I'm just saying it's not half as bad. And you're not wrong to like the 5T. In a similar way, I am not wrong to like the 10. The 10 has those exclusive features that the 5T doesn't. It might not be worth it to you, even though the 5T might have a faster face unlock feature, even if it's not as secure. Just because it has a couple advantages over the 10, that does not make the 10 useless. Okay, that's all I was trying to say. And he said, tweeting from it right now, which is of course assumed because he loves the 5T. And then he says, I've got every flagship on the planet. So I'm assuming what he meant by that reply was, I have every option. Like I could use every phone there is, even though some people replied to him and said that you don't have the V30. What I could have responded with if I was more salty was just like, well, when the companies send them all to you, it's a lot easier. But except the iPhone 10, of course, which was not sent to him. But yeah. And in my reply, I didn't mean to say this in a sarcastic sense, but I said, good for you. I was trying to say this as a positive thing. Like, that's great. I know you like the 5T, and that's fine. I just don't think that the argument makes sense that because you like the 5T, that means no one should buy the iPhone 10. It's for no one. That's an argument I would reserve for the Pixel. That I don't understand. He even mentioned in the video that he understands there's some. I see the super chat. I'll respond to it. I even see the argument that there are people who are iOS exclusive who don't want to leave that ecosystem, and he respects that. I think that should be more acknowledged in the final recommendation rather than a clickbaity "don't buy the iPhone 10," as in no one should buy that, which of course is going to upset people because by the time you upload that, tons of people are already using the iPhone 10 and they don't want to see a video of the most popular YouTuber telling them that they made the wrong choice. Obviously, people get defensive about that. I don't really care. I'm not offended by that. But the reason I wanted to bring it up is because that's doing so well for the channel right now. We're getting monumentous success, monumentous subscribers and views. So I have Lou to thank for that, and I have you guys to thank for that, for suggesting a video, having me make it, and then it did really well. So to that, I am grateful. But yeah, my point is I don't care what you use. You should be able to use whatever you want. My argument is that certain phones are useless, like the Pixel 2. A Pixel phone, I cannot justify. I have no idea why you would buy that, because I look at the competition and I see that Android is not exclusive to the Pixel, whereas iPhone 10, iOS is exclusive to that. So anyway, so that's my little Lou rant that caught up on the Twitter response. So let's respond to the super chat here from Dinu P, who says, "Should I upgrade from iPhone 8 Plus to the 10?" Well, you're definitely in the iOS realm. I mean, if you got the 8 Plus, it means that you haven't owned it for very long. I mean, it's a perfectly good phone. I like the 8 Plus a lot. If you guys recall my review of it, I've sold it now, but I sold it to my girlfriend. I wanted to give it to her, but she insisted on paying for it because she's like, I'm my own person. You don't have to hand out things to me. So she bought it at a really good deal, by the way. But she's loving it too. But back before the iPhone 10 came out, I still found the 8 Plus is a perfectly reasonable upgrade from the 7. Like, I could start to understand why Apple didn't want to call this a 7S. It was like, no, this is a pretty substantial upgrade. The camera enhancements of the display got True Tone, which a lot of people don't appreciate. A lot of people are like, it's the same display. It's not. It looks noticeably different. I mean, you can hold it next to a 7 and be like, yep, this is more color accuracy. This is more temperature accurate to the room you're in. I love that display. It's also like, if you have working fingerprints, which I don't, but for those of you who do, that fingerprint reader worked really, really well. Yes, it's not a original design, but it's still a design that works, that a lot of people are fine with. And the wireless charging edition is great, and the 4K at 60 is still there, and the A11 chip is still incredibly fast. Like, I love it. I thought it was a perfectly reasonable phone. That being said, the 10 is definitely better. You're getting approached into the future, and you're seeing what the future has in store for you. So you're seeing what the future of iPhones is going to be like, which is great. Being able to do this and everything. I love it, but at the same time, 8 Plus to 10, I mean, that's a 2-month recycle. I mean, if that's a lot of money for you, probably not worth it. I can't say that it's absolutely necessary. It's like no one should buy the 8 Plus. The 8 Plus is more affordable, that's for sure. You could get more storage with your 8 Plus. And if you drop it, I don't think it costs as much to replace, because that's a big risk you take with a 10. It's not just a higher starting price. If you break it, it's a lot more expensive to replace. So totally depends on your financial situation. If paying for the 10 is not going to hurt your bank account very much, sure, go for it. Sell your 8 Plus. Sell it now so that it's a pretty good deal. You get quite a lot back on it, and then you make a good deal on the 10. Anyway, JT says, do you think Apple should get an always-on display? Yeah, a lot of people talked about that when they got OLED. I actually, and I mean, just look at the Apple Watch, something that could likely support an always-on display. I don't think that there's hardware preventing it from doing so. I just think that Apple doesn't want to. I think that Apple sees that as being unnecessary, because the idea is the watch is on, the phone is on when you are using it. The idea of an always-on display is that it's on when you're not using it and just hopefully glancing at it. They're probably going to recommend you rather use your Apple Watch if you need to glance at things. That's what I use it for. Whereas the times I've had an always on display, let's see, I think I had it. It was on by default on the Galaxy S8, the Nexus 6P, and I think it was always on the Note 7. I can't remember exactly. Um, but with the always on displays, I always remember turning them off because I always felt like it was using unnecessary battery life. And I understand that in the hard facts of it all, it's like, no, it barely uses any battery. The OLED display means all the pixels are off except for those small ones. It's like, okay, I know it's not much battery, but it's just I like kind of having a phone off. I like knowing that the display's not on. I don't need it to be constantly on. Reaching it out of my pocket and seeing the display in use and stuff. Um, I don't know. Something about that's just bothered me. Maybe I'm just not used to it. Maybe if Apple did it, they would do it right or something. I don't know. My idea back when I thought that they were going to do just an always on home button, like an 8, just a circle button at the bottom with the removed with the edge to edge display, was that with the OLED display they were just going to have a circle on the bottom of the device at all times, and then when you tapped on that it would activate the phone. But no, they didn't do that, of course, with the home bar and everything. And now the entire screen you can just tap and it wakes up, which is far more practical. I'm glad they didn't listen to me on that. I prefer what they did opposed to my idea. The gesture control was definitely the smart move, and it's something that it's like I'm impressed by that. When I find out that Apple thinks about these things more than we do, and I find out, do we really want gesture controlled and with no buttons anymore? This is kind of weird. I think people are not going to like this. And then you start using it and you're like, wow, this is better. Like that's something Apple's capable of doing, and I haven't felt that with the competition. I haven't felt a non-Apple device and been like, oh, they thought about that. They thought that through. Anyway, we got another super chat from Rozzy. He says, hey guys, can you check out my channel? Hi, Drew. Hi, Rozzy. Thank you for your donation. You can check out Ismail Tech right there. I watched a couple of his videos. I'm working on my review for you because you're a Patreon donor who fell under the perk of you get a review for your channel, which is great. Yeah, Lou is a money-mongering, publicity-seeking shame. That's not true. Come on, guys. Don't be mean to Lou. I'm not saying Lou is lying, and I don't think he's money hungry if he's referring everyone to a budget phone. But either way, I'm saying that I disagree with his opinion, but he's not wrong to have it. We shouldn't be mad about it for that. What I would love to do with Lou is have a collaboration video where we have that kind of discussion, because he seems like the kind of guy who'd be fun to talk to about that thing. But he probably does not collaborate with channels infinitely smaller than him, so that likely wouldn't happen. But I was just happy that he saw the tweet and at least considered that in my mind, that my opinion is now heard by the largest tech channel. That I felt very honored by. I was excited by. So now it's happened. Okay, I've with my interaction with the big million subscriber tech channels, I've been replied to by iJustine on Twitter long time ago. Long time ago. And then, of course, we had the collaboration with MKBHD, so he very much knows me. In fact, he had my name on his phone in one of his review videos. And then Everything Apple Pro, you guys made comments about me that got a lot of attention on his videos, to which he deleted. So he has not directly spoken to me, but I think he knows about me. Like he would see Taylosive and be like, oh, jeez, it's those fans again. Delete them. And then now Unbox Therapy. Who's left? We need to say hi to Jonathan Morrison and Austin Evans, and then I can say I've interacted to some degree with everyone. Anyway, yeah, I think viewership's doing really great for a live stream. We're at 326 people, and I think that's because it's on a weekend. That's helpful. Having a collab with him would be a mistake. His fan base is a bunch of angry fandroids who would just spam your account with dislikes and rude comments. Guys, I know you might not think about this, but dislikes and rude comments don't hurt your monetization. YouTube hurts your monetization, but for those of you who don't realize it, every time I've had a controversial video, which is a video that gets more hate, more dislikes than usual, more mean comments than usual, that's always when the channel starts to grow really fast. When I did my video about the MacBook Pros, and last night I had kind of a splurge, and I started watching all of my older videos. back in 2016 and early 2016, and I was like, man, that was weird back then. Just all you guys were okay with just watching this ginger in his attic, and that was fine. Very different Drew back then. Not really. It was just as cringy. But unboxing 4 different MacBooks over the course of 4 months, and saying how I love them and they were fine, and everyone was hating on them, and then iPhone 7. Whenever I get a lot of hate, the channel grows really, really well. And that's the great thing about being an Apple sheep, is you can always count on people being mad at Apple. That will always be there. No matter what, people are going to hate on Apple no matter what they do. And this is partially Apple I have to be thankful for, because no matter what, they always find something for people to get a little bit mad about. Every single time. They find something that's like, oh yeah, they did that. They ditched the headphone jack. Dang it. Oh, they didn't switch to USB-C. Dang it. There's just little things, like the notch. Like they wanted an edge-to-edge display. They're like, why doesn't Apple change their lineup? They changed the lineup. Now you can be mad about the notch. Everything Apple does is just decisive enough that I can attract just the right amount of fans, just the right amount of haters. But when you do that, dislikes, hate comments, they don't hurt your views, which is what allows the channel to grow, which is what allows us to reach more people. You were crazier then? Yeah, I probably was okay with doing more wacky things, because it wasn't like back then I was worried about everyone unsubscribing. It was not my livelihood back then. Back then, it was not it was not like my job to do YouTube. Now I feel like if I do wacky things or I do crazy things that I feel like people might not like, I could experience a great drop in subscribers. So there's definitely a certain amount of risk you can take when you're young and you're just figuring out what you want to do. But when this is your full-time job and it's your career, you're kind of like, okay, don't do crazy, drastic things anymore, because you could not be able to pay your rent the next month if you take too much drastic changes. But I can say that I haven't changed my I have not changed my loyalty to Apple. I don't change my opinions because of that. Like, the way I convey my opinions might change a little bit. Like, a lot of people loved it when I did that cage match. Exactly. Effie is remembering it. Like, when I did I put my hoodie on and I had a microphone with sunglasses, I think, and I was just like, the Surface Pro 4 versus iPad Pro. A lot of people hated that, and a lot of people loved it. It just kind of was decisive with people. Some people were like, yes, do this more. Some people were like, I'm unsubscribing now. The reason I haven't done that again is because like that could actually make a big dent on my success as a YouTuber. If I started doing controversial things, that's like, I might lose half my fan base if I do this. But back then it was like, whatever, who cares? Anyway, or that everything wrong with, yeah, that people like those kind of videos too. But again, people would be like, that's a clickbaity title. I don't like clickbait. I'm unsubscribing. So there's just kind of risks you can take. My opinions, though, have not changed. I'm still completely honest with you guys. I don't change my opinion off camera. Everything I say in my videos, I completely can stand by in real life. And my friends and family can attest to that. They're like, no, Drew really is an Apple sheep. Anyway. Jose the Beast 22 donated, thank you, says, my iPhone 10 gets hot in the morning. Is this just me? We've had this discussion before. Is hot different than overheating? Overheating means the phone cannot be used. Hot just means that you're holding it and you're like, oh, this is warm. Which happens when you charge it. Whether it's fast charging or whether it's wireless charging, that's just what happens. Here, let me... Okay, it's not warm right now, but that's probably because I have a case on it. For the sake of the live stream, Razi, you should be moderator, yeah, because you, yeah, I see the other super chat. Let me address this first. Okay, Crab Rangoon, yes, you should be able to be moderator. Can I add that? Yeah, because he falls under that perk on Patreon, so thank you, Razi. Okay, Crab Rangoon says, I have 2013 13-inch MacBook Air, 1.3 gigahertz Intel Core, i5, whew, running OS 10 Yosemite. Should I upgrade to High Sierra? I'm scared it will start to run slow. Okay, so yeah, I can understand your concerns because a lot of people have, what I was going to do is wirelessly charge this for a long time without the case on and see if it gets warm. A lot of people were concerned that, because High Sierra was running into a bunch of problems for people. They were having programs crash. They were having, software issues, lag, and stuff like that. But for me, honestly, it's been fine. I've updated to High Sierra. I've had it for months now, and I have to say, I really don't have any complaints. If things ran faster, transfer speeds were better. Yeah, if you want to be a moderator, it's a Patreon perk. Just check us out on Patreon. High Sierra's been fine for me, so it's hard to say because a lot of people are running into issues. What I would recommend is definitely look on some forums online and just search. What do you have again? What did you have? You have the 13-inch MacBook Air. Okay. Just ask on online forums, High Sierra on MacBook Air, like how many problems are there going to be? And if it's a major problem, you're seeing it happen a lot, then don't because yeah, I've understood that Apple's had a pretty bad week for software updates recently. Sadly, there lots of bugs, lots of glitches they've been running into. Hopefully they get all these figured out. But I gotta say, mine's been doing fine. So if if you're on a 15-inch MacBook Pro from late 2016, anyways, I can say that High Sierra worked fine for me. But then again, if you're MKBHD, who's using, I believe, a Mac Pro, the trash can one, High Sierra is probably not the best choice because he's been running into problems with it a lot. So anyway, make a bootable drive. Exactly. Yeah, you could make a bootable flash drive or whatever to OS 10 Yosemite. That way, if High Sierra doesn't work, you can downgrade. So that's also a possibility. My last time asking this now. AI is the future, and which company between Google and Apple and Samsung is leading that right now? I disagree with the first sentence, though. I think AI is going to be helpful for certain applications in life, but it's not consumer tech. I don't think that's what it's going to be helpful for. If you want an answer to um, who's leading it, it's Google. Google's investigating this thing all the time. They're constantly doing AI, but I think they're doing it poorly. I think they're pouring the most money into artificial intelligence, and Samsung and Apple are not. But who's selling the most hardware? It's Apple and Samsung. Google's not selling the most hardware; they sell the most free services. AI is uh, right as of right now not doing very well. I mean, if you because Google is like, let's wait for AI to control what videos get monetized and not monetized. Let's let AI figure out closed captioning on videos and see how accurate it is. Um, Artificial intelligence is something that's useful for problem solving. Consumers aren't constantly problem solving; they're just trying to get their lives figured out. And I think hardware helps with that, and software that runs well on that hardware is what helps with that. It's not necessarily AI. AI is a useful tool for engineering and producers and businesses, but I don't think it's a big part of our future. But I don't think it's going to be what decides what phone you're going to buy. You're not going to be in the future buying a phone because it has the best artificial intelligence. I don't think that's how it's going to work. How do you get on Patreon? Okay, listen. This is a lot to take in. I know it's complicated. Go to Patreon and search Tailosive and just see what happens. There's only one result, and it's B. You can super chat on a browser. You can't super chat in the app. Just go to Safari or whatnot, and then you can super chat. Okay. When's the next Talos of food review coming? Next time we remember to film and eat it. What's on your phone? Apps. Future of iPhones in 5 to 10 years' time. What do you think? It's not going to be as exciting. I think that's got to be taken. You guys got to be able to accept that there's not going to be changes to the iPhone lineup as drastic as the 10 was. I mean, they can remove the notch, they can make bezel smaller, they can make larger versions of what we already have with the iPhone 10 Plus. Or yes, you can go on any video and look in the description, and there's a Patreon link. There's a billion ways. I also just assume that you guys are smart enough to think, oh, Patreon, Tailosive. He's probably the same name on Patreon. You could just go to patreon.com and look up the name. Anyway, for the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to be seeing a more perfected design of what we already have, which means that if you expect display changes to be what makes a phone noticeably upgraded, so the reason so many people complained about 6S, 7, 8 is because they all look the same from the front. Get used to that, because for the next 5 to 10 years, most iPhones are going to be looking like this. They can shrink the camera bulge, you can make it faster, you can remove the lightning port even, but you can go all wireless. But for the most part, the look of the phone is not going to change too much. $803 a month is a lot. It's not when you've got camera equipment, software subscriptions, rent money, camera equipment you're saving for, tech you want people to buy, especially when they want you to review They want you to review $1,000 smartphones. They want you to review $500 Apple Watches. Patreon is a small fraction of what I need to survive on YouTube for this to be a full-time job. Plus, Patreon takes a piece of that anyway, especially with demonetization when Google takes all your money. Anyway, check your Instagram. Yeah, I have I think 100 different DMs on Instagram. I can't read them all. I'll try my best, but I'm getting tons and tons of DMs on all of my sites: Facebook, Instagram. I turned it off on Twitter because it was getting crazy, but yeah, it's bad. A lot for some people. It's a lot if you don't really have expenses. I mean, that's not really a full time salary. It's not, if you're not paying for much. It's a lot, I guess. Most people are paying for things. What happened to the BlackPod situation? They said they were going to send me a new pair because they said they perfected their manufacturing process and they never did. So I don't know. Can you say the reasons why iPods are better than Android tablets? I heard the apps are either same now. Well, the biggest reason is in that of the Android tablets I've used at least, most of the Android apps are optimized for phones, and when they're blown up onto tablets, they don't fit very well. Whereas the iOS App Store has a dedicated section just for iPad apps. The Play Store might, but it's definitely not as extensive, and the split view multitasking is definitely more intuitive and easier to use on the iPad, as well as just there's a lot more like Android tablet mode on the Pixel Book 2. You can't even run two apps side by side yet, which is something iPads have had for several years now. They don't have the stylus support like the Apple Pencil does. Like when people are debating an iPad, they're comparing it usually to a Surface Pro. Usually, if you're wondering if you should buy an iPad, you do not compare it to an Android tablet. Of the ones I've used, at least, they're rather cheap. There's not really premium ones, and it's mostly because the software is designed for a phone, and it's really more just blown up. Whereas iPad apps are more optimized, I'd feel, in my experience at least. And the hardware for iPads is just more top notch. I mean, iPads are still winning the tablet market. Should split screen come to iPhones? I've always said no. But I gotta say, the 6.5-inch 10 Plus makes me think about it. Like, could it be doable on here? Because my issue with split view on smartphones, which I have used on the Android phones I've tested, is that um, they don't feel right. They don't like. They cover up way too much on a screen that small. Like when you bring up the keyboard, it basically covers up the entire app. There's too much space you're trying to cram into such a small display. Whereas 10 Plus, it's like this is. I don't know of a lot of smartphones that have a 6.5-inch display. So a display that large, maybe Apple could figure out a way to make it work, and maybe not split view, but perhaps picture in picture could work a little bit better on here. Of picture in picture, I've used on other smartphones. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel optimized. But what I do is I kick in my Apple sheet bias and say that if Apple found out a way to do it, it would probably be done better and correctly. I am not sponsored by Dbrand. I'm probably the one YouTuber who is not sponsored by Dbrand. Do you think the next iPhone should have more RAM, like 4 to 6? It could. It feels like every year they upgrade it a little bit, but with iOS's optimization, they really don't need it. If they were doing split view stuff, definitely. But usually the Plus model has an extra gig of RAM or something, so maybe this one would have, what is it? I think the 8 Plus and the 10 have 3 or 4. I think it's 3. So then the 10 Plus would have 4. I don't care much about RAM on smartphones because usually it doesn't affect your performance very much. I mean, look at the Geekbench scores for the 10. The 10 by far does not have the most RAM, but it is still one of the fastest and greatest at multitasking. Alex Matthews says, which countries do you get highest viewership from? Definitely the United States. It's about 47% the United States and then smaller pieces. I think next is like 10% United Kingdom and then 5% Canada. I have all the charts, but it's definitely mostly United States. But thank you for your donation. You should do iPad Pro only challenge. Produce all your videos for a week on only iPad Pro and use it as your only computing device aside from phone, device besides a phone. I've done it. I did that for a month, and it was not by choice. I decided that because I wanted iPads to be the future, and I didn't want to invest. At the time, I didn't have enough money for a MacBook. I instead invested in the new iPad Pro because it could edit 4K video, and I had a 4K camera. And for a good several months, it wasn't just 1 month, all of the tech channel was being edited on a iPad with iMovie. I used an Apple Pencil to edit all the videos, and I made the thumbnails on there. I published the videos on there. I uploaded everything on there at 1080 at 60 or 4K or whatnot. And it wasn't just the tech channel. I did videos on the main channel. I edited on the iPad Pro. So I've definitely done that experience of using it exclusively, and I can tell you it's probably more doable now because of apps like LumaFusion Pro, which I bought and I've reviewed, and it's a very good app. If you're hoping for pro editing kind of apps on the iPad Pro, that's what you should use. It's kind of like Adobe Premiere, except on an iPad. Works really well. It's $20, which I get is a lot for an app, but it's a pro app. It's very nice. So I bet it would be easier now because it's more customizable than iMovie. Like you could export it at different bit rates, which is great because iMovie compressed everything and then upload them at those higher frame rates and bit rates and stuff. So it's definitely more doable now. But now that I have a MacBook Pro, there's no denying that this is still better at editing than that, just because it has fans. It has a cooling system. It has an i7. It's got more RAM. This is going to be better. So the challenge would be useless. It's kind of like those people who say like you should do the flip phone challenge where you only use a flip phone for a month. It's I wouldn't learn anything from that. I know exactly how I feel about that, and after the experience, I would feel the same way. It's not. I wouldn't change anything. Will the S9 have a ProMotion display? Probably not, because they said they're going to unveil the Galaxy S9 in January at CES, which is kind of cool. But that's definitely early. It's not like you'd be able to buy it in January. But at the same time, it wouldn't be like what is it? It wouldn't be. I don't think they're ready. I feel like OLED at 120 hertz isn't ready yet. For those of you who don't know, 120 hertz displays are currently, this could change, are currently only available on LCD displays. And I don't think Samsung's interested in switching to LCD for the S9. And if they did, I think we would have heard about it by now because Samsung doesn't really care about leaks. Usually a month before it's out, they just show off everything. So that's why I'm sure that today's video about the S9 is 90% accurate. There might be some things I'm wrong about, but pretty much all we don't know about right now is will it have a headphone jack? That we're unsure about. We're pretty sure that the chin on the bottom will be smaller. They'll move the fingerprint reader to be more ergonomic. The Plus model will have a dual camera. The regular model won't. That's about it. That's about it. Do you want a fingerprint sensor embedded in the display? I know it wouldn't affect you, but would it be helpful versus Face ID? Obviously, options are nice, but oh, sorry, there's a super chat. Let me go back to that question really quick. Current Galaxy S6 burns hand and is laggy AF. I've lost faith in Samsung and wondering if the iPhone 10 is worth buying. I just want a fast, good phone. Any phone that's new is going to be fast and good for a little while. So, of course, that could change over time. But, yeah, the S6 is getting up there in age, so it's probably time to switch. Yeah, I think if you can afford the iPhone 10, it's a great experience. I love it. But, of course, there are budget ones out there. You can get an iPhone 8 for cheaper and now the iPhone 7 for cheaper. So, if you're on a budget, there's plenty of iPhones to choose from. But, yeah, if you want the best overall experience... Oh, shoot. Oh, my gosh. Guys, sorry. I got some information about Project 2X. I have to address this really quickly. Okay. It doesn't have to be addressed. Sorry. Top secret Talos of stuff. Project 2X. Wonder if you could see that. Anyway. Yeah, we're still charging. My 10 is not hot, by the way. Tell them 10's not hot. Never hot. Anyway. There was a question I was trying to answer earlier. I'm sorry. Project 2X is a top secret Talos of project going on that's taking up a lot of time and money and effort. That's why I'm trying to do more live streams, live stream longer. When you guys donate $15, I give a hint to Project 2X and stuff like that. Anyway, should I get the Galaxy S9 instead of iPhone 10? Asks Dino P. No. Because it's Samsung. It's running Android. I'm not saying it's better. It's exciting because Samsung makes really, really great hardware. But no, I don't think it makes it a better product. I think most Android users out there, most tech YouTubers out there are going to be like, see, the S9 makes the iPhone 10 pointless because it's cheaper and it's better and everything's nice and we love the S9. But it's still Android, which means that software-wise, not much is changing from the S8. The S8 will be cheaper and, in fact, probably be more worth it. I bet the Galaxy S8 will drop in price and therefore be slaughtering both the Razer phone, the Essential phone, the OnePlus 5T, the Red phone. Like, all of that will be useless because the S8 will probably be under $500 once the S9 comes out. MKBHD was complaining about the nose on the Razer phone. Can you ask him why? I'm not sure what that means. The nose. I have tons of complaints with the Razer phone. Sub to me, guys. iPhone 10 sucks. JK, I unboxed it. Yeah. Jose the Beast 22 says, "Are you into jailbreaking?" I am not. I had my friend Xander, who's been on this channel sometimes, has been into jailbreaking in the past, but jailbreaking's kind of dead now. It's not really. Even the inventor of jailbreaks, like, it doesn't make any sense. The problem was you had to stop updating to newer updates to be qualifiable to jailbreak, which I found annoying. I was like, I want Apple's new features. I don't want some random online features that you can forcefully install. And all the features I saw were neat, but not things I needed. I was like, okay, you can jailbreak it so that you can put folders in folders, or that you can have a real dark mode or something like that. They're cool, but I'd rather stay stock iOS. Sorry. I'm not used to saying stock because usually there's only one iOS. Anyway, any design changes for Apple Watch Series 4? That's what I'm hoping. I said that in my video. It's like, you've kind of nailed the functionality of the Apple Watch Apple. So to get people excited for it, you gotta give it the iPhone 10 treatment, which is simply make it look cool, make it look better. It already looks really cool. I like the way it looks, but I'm saying, like, if they want people to be excited for the Apple Watch Series 4, there's really not a ton of functionality you can add. I mean, it's got cellular, it's got GPS, it's got a great battery life, it's got a great display, it's got plenty of watch faces. You can add that in watchOS. It's got customizable bands. It doesn't sound like smart bands are really happening. That felt like a dead-end idea, because they were going to be too pricey, and it probably messed with the water resistance to have ports on the bands themselves. So at the same time, there's not a ton of functionality you can add to the Apple Watch. So that's why I'm saying make it thinner, shrink the bezels, make it look cool. More color options. I don't know. That's how you get people excited for it. Headphone jack on Apple Watch? No. Stop. No, don't say that. Confirmed December 23rd. iMac Pro, guys. Check the app. What app? Hold on. Is there iMac Pro updates? What app? What are we checking? Can I have the iMac Pro tab already open. It says available December. Do I check the app? What is it? What do you think of the iMac Pro? What do you think? I love the iMac Pro. I want to get it. I'm saying, what do you mean by check the app? It's not in the iMac. It's not in the Mac section. See, you guys flip me out. Apple Store app? Where? Where does it say this in the Apple Store app? Do we need to do an iMac Pro live stream? Where do you look? How do you feel about Apple soon being the world's first $1 trillion company? It's great. It makes sense. It proves that they're a good. What about where in the Apple Store app? Look, Mac. Scroll down. Nothing. Is it under iMac? Is there an iMac Pro? Where do we look? Or are you guys just being happy? Is that a prank? Or check Mac new? It's not there. Okay, whatever. Okay, he's lying. Great. Funny. Okay, I dare you to say iPhone 10 sucks. Boom. The notch covers the iMac Pro. No, we don't need a notch on there. We don't. It wouldn't be necessary. The only reason there's a notch on the 10 is because the bezels have to be so thin on such a small device. The sensors would not be bigger on a larger device. That's why you would not get a notch on an iPad. You would not get a notch on an iMac. The bezels are large. The sensors can fit in there. What do you have to say about the security bug on macOS High Sierra? Do you have any problems with High Sierra like other people are reporting? I haven't. What I said... like other people are having bugs. I am not, but my MacBook unlocks with the Apple Watch, which has been really great. So no, I don't. I actually didn't look into that security bug. The way I looked at it was if someone stole my MacBook, um, I wouldn't have it regardless of did they have access to it. I mean, there'd be a bunch of footage on here, but I have that backed up too. There's not a lot of private information I have on my MacBook, to be honest. Um, but yeah, that sucks, and I hope it gets patched soon. I hope because I heard there was a way you could bypass the password. I didn't look into how it was done, but um, keep your MacBook secure. What do you think about? What do you have to say about iOS 11 hate? There's always hate for change. There's always going to be a bunch of changes when a bunch of hate when Apple makes a bunch of changes. Time goes by, you get used to it, and then you're accustomed to it. I'm trying to hit 100 subscribers. I'm at 67. What would the Google Pixel 3 have to do to interest you? Not. It couldn't do much at this point. I hate that lineup. What would be my ideal Pixel 3? Is that what you're asking? Okay, dual camera. Obviously, I'd like the 3D face unlock technology. Wireless charging. What would it have to? That wouldn't excite me though. That would just be like, okay, it's now an iPhone. Now it's standard. That's the best the Pixel lineup can do is make me go, oh, okay, it's pretty good. Now it's on par with iPhones. Right now, I feel like they're lacking in every field. If they made something that was on par with a Samsung device, okay, so they got curved displays and curved corners and minimal bezels and stereo speakers, and they included headphones and a dual camera and wireless charging. No camera bulge would be nice. Um, I don't know. It's at this point I'm so mad at that lineup, having used a Pixel and having tested out a Pixel 2. That product line is so frustrating to me. And they would have to introduce it next to a Pixel branded smartwatch that is like the best Android Wear watch. It's an update to the App Store. I don't think there is. Can you wireless charge and fast charge at the same time? Well, I mean, are you saying like put it on the wireless charger and plug something? I'm gonna say don't do that. It's probably not good for the phone, and it's most likely it would deactivate the wireless charging and just rely on the port. So I'm gonna say no and don't try, in case it does something bad to your battery. You don't want to try that. Yeah, Apple wouldn't release a product on a Saturday, and I also don't think that they are necessarily trying to get out the iMac Pro before the holidays, because is an iMac Pro really a product a lot of parents would be purchasing or people would be purchasing as a gift. Like, oh, it's Christmas time, so I thought I'd buy you a 5 grand computer. Like, it's not really one of those Christmas gift items. Like an iPhone, AirPods, iPads, I get that. The iMac Pro, though, like, just if you're getting someone a gift, get them a regular iMac. I don't know. Best Android flagship. Right now, it's the Note 8. I thought I've been pretty. Uh, I thought I've been pretty noticeable about that. Like it's a great phone. It's a great all around Android phone, and people are like, but the Samsung skin, you can't get rid of it. It's like get a different launcher. You can change your app icon pack. You can make your Samsung phone look like it's running stock Android. It's not that hard. It takes 5 minutes, and a lot of the Samsung skins that they put on Android are very helpful. A lot of things Samsung skins have had for a long time, Android is just now getting. People are like, ooh, you can do split view and picture now on Android. It's like Samsung has had this on their skin for years. The Nova launcher is good and it's free. And if you want to pay extra so that it's ultra customizable, it's like $2. That's how you know it's a good platform when you have to pay for software enhancements. Um, do you want a fingerprint sensor embedded into the display? I know it wouldn't affect. Oh, that was the question I saw earlier. I don't because it wouldn't affect me, but I get that options are nice. It would be impressive if a company finally figured out how to mass produce that. But I think Apple was right to say that I think Face ID can be enhanced and Face ID can be improved upon long term and result in a better experience. I think when Face ID is perfected, security is unnoticeable, whereas we've kind of perfected Touch ID. Touch ID is fast, setting it up, just tap on it and stuff. Not for me, but for most people. setting up Touch ID is easy. You're good, but then you still have to touch the device. You have to perform an interaction for it to unlock. Whereas when Face ID is perfected, you can just walk into the room and it starts working. Right now, we're just getting the beginning stages of Face ID, which means that it's not yet perfected. It means that you have to look at it just right. It doesn't work under certain conditions and bright sunlight or whatnot. But when we have Face ID on iPads, laptops, and desktops, it's pretty simple to just open the device. It looks at you and unlocks. It's fairly simple. How do I pay you with PayPal? Oh yeah, we can do that. It's through this email address, which I'll write in the chat here. Now everyone's going to be like, it's delayed. Chat's delayed. Okay, so you can PayPal me on that, and I take questions on there too. And I should get a notification on it on my phone. Let's see. Yeah, Razi, you don't have to keep. Don't abuse your mod power to just get more subscribers. I don't recommend that. Please don't do that. Should Apple buy another company? If so, what company? That's a good question, Charlie. My eye is twitching. I would say Tesla, even though that would be probably one of the largest purchases in history. Those are two companies I love and care about very much, and I think them working together would be amazing. I think Tesla needs software enhancements because when I talked to MKBHD about what he would change about the Tesla, he very quickly and had a definite answer. The UI. The UI is what Tesla needs an enhancement on, both with the apps and with the software in the computer itself, in the Teslas themselves, and that's something Apple's great at. So that's why I'm saying, like, if Apple were to buy another company, Netflix would be a great one. You could partner Apple Music with Netflix, but Netflix wouldn't sell themselves, and neither would Tesla. So neither of those is really going to happen. Tesla and Apple hate each other. I don't think they hate each other because they're not competing. Tesla doesn't make phones. I mean, Tesla makes chargers, car chargers now with lightning plugs in them. So I don't think they hate each other. Engineers work all over the place. Like for those of you who don't know, my uncle's an engineer. They don't even have unions because they're so used to being dropped in their industry. They're so used to being fired for the sake of we can't afford you anymore, we don't need this project anymore, and then with their degrees, with their talents, they go and work somewhere else. They work at a different company. Like engineers switch companies all the time. So when you find out that Tesla uses old Apple engineers, it's perfectly normal. That happens all the time. Google employees will leave Google and work for Apple. Apple employees will leave Apple and work for Microsoft. That kind of thing happens all the time. It's my second favorite company, right under Apple, is Tesla. So if they were to combine forces, if you look at the Apple parking lot full of Teslas, yeah, I bet most of Apple employees drive Teslas. I don't know why they wouldn't. They don't have CarPlay, but yeah. Do you think Apple should make a streaming service like Netflix or Hulu that's just streams the movies, TVs on the iTunes store? I want that to happen. It seems like they're putting a lot of exclusive movies and not streaming, but exclusive content in the Apple Music app, which is, I think, a start, and it's also a beginning to a. They're buying. I think they bought a big company, and they're partnering. They're partnering with who was it? Steven Spielberg on a lot of original video content. So yeah, I'm hoping they're doing that, but I want them to. Yeah, I want there to be a streaming service. I want there to be a streaming service brought to you by Apple, like a Netflix competitor. Yeah, they're not doing it right now. They're picking all the weirdest things, like the CarPlay. What was it? Carpool Karaoke series was just weird. It was just like, we're celebrities who can drive and sing to our own music. And then Planet of the Apps, about developers making apps, treating it like Survivor. Like, yeah, I don't think it would be on iTunes. I think it would be partnered with the Apple Music subscription, which would be really powerful. Like if you had some exclusive content, original video content from Apple, then you would have a subscription service partnership where it's like, now you can get all the music you want and all the movies you want. That would be really powerful, I think. I gotta say, this wireless charger keeps disconnecting, and I'm wondering if it's because of the adapter or if it's the charger. I haven't reviewed it yet. I got this yesterday, so I hope it's not the wireless charger that keeps going off. I don't feel any heat yet either. Planet of the Apps, I watched it. It was interesting. It's just it's not interesting to a modern culture. I mean, it was interesting if you're into business majors, like if you're curious about how to get a startup on a business and you're into developing apps, then it's interesting. But that's not something everybody wants to watch. What I'm saying is Planet of the Apps was not an extremely successful show. Apple Music, if they started making their own original content, they would need their own version of Stranger Things. They would need their own Marvel Daredevil kind of shows. They would need something that people want to watch on there. And as of now, people don't subscribe to Apple Music for the video content. It's like an added bonus, but that's not why they get it. It's mostly for music, of course, but at the same time, I wish they would partner with Disney, but Disney's got so much money in the bank. They're not that stupid. Disney knows that they can make their own streaming service, which they're going to in 2019, that'll have all the Disney films, all the Marvel films, all the Star Wars films, and all the Pixar films. And then they're basically good for life. It's like, okay, you're going to buy our subscription service. You don't have a choice. So Disney's going to do that in 2019, and then they're going to pull all the Star Wars content, the Netflix content that they partnered with. They're going to pull all that from Netflix, and then Netflix is going to kind of struggle a little bit. And then put it on their own streaming service, and then you'll probably just have to pay for two. It won't cost that much. It'll won't be a very pricey service. The difference is they'll be able to charge whatever they want. That's the difference. If Samsung had a good product ecosystem, would you switch? Uh, Not necessarily. We live now? Hold on. We back? I don't know what happened. We should be back. You good? We're good? Okay. It says we're good. Sorry about that. I have no idea what happened. I didn't even get a. I have no idea what just happened. I didn't even get a, like, this stream has stopped working or anything. Like, I didn't get a bandwidth drop. I didn't get a warning that my Wi-Fi was down or anything. It just literally stopped, and I went to the live streaming software, and the live button was just off. I just clicked it again, and we came back. I have no idea why that happened. I'm sorry. I had recently got a 13-cent PayPal donation. Thank you. Um, my goodness. Yeah, I have no idea what that happened. I want the iMac Pro. As soon as it's available, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get it. Sorry if we lost a bunch of people there. I have no idea what happened. I didn't click anything. I didn't touch anything. I have no idea. That was very weird. Someone was asking right before the stream crashed for some reason. Someone was asking what would I switch to Samsung if would I switch to Samsung if they had a good product ecosystem? And my response to that was going to be it would have to be better somehow. I would not. It takes a while to switch. I'm sure a lot of people don't switch to Apple products because they know switching out of the ecosystem they have now would be very difficult. So the reason is I'm not against ever switching out of the Apple ecosystem. I could do it someday, but I would only do that if there was an ecosystem that outperformed. It couldn't just match. It would have to be better than, clearly better than. And currently, I don't think that exists, and I don't think that's going to exist for a long time. Even if Samsung made their own OS, it would still be miles behind Apple's experience and stuff. So, what makes Apple's ecosystem the best? The diversity. The fact that you have everything from end to end. You have wearables all the way up to desktops that work together. Like this is a powerful editing machine with 16 gigs of RAM and Radeon Pro GPU and a quad-core i7. And it can edit 4K at 60 and it can export it fast. Like, great editing machine, and yet it unlocks with an Apple Watch. Like that. I think that shows a great diversity of how Watch can work with MacBook, iPhone can AirDrop to MacBook. Of course, Apple Watch and iPhone are like this. iPad can work together with the iPhone between AirDrop and continuity so seamlessly. Like, it's the fact that there's so many different ones. Whereas Google's ecosystem is like, we have phones, this laptop, and a speaker. That's your ecosystem. Oh, and a VR headset, because that's useful. Yeah, wear this thing on your face and throw it around. Yeah, that's the Google ecosystem. Samsung's ecosystem is much more diverse, but it doesn't work together as well. They have laptops and tablets that run Windows and Android, and then down to phones. They've got really good, but their overall product line, like their smartphones, are really really strong, but everything else they make do not really compete to the other things Apple make, in my opinion. Enticing aspect for me in choosing to stay with Apple. Yes, it's my primary reason for sticking with Apple as well. Definitely. It's I also just think single-handedly, like even if there wasn't an ecosystem, I would probably still buy the iPhone 10. It values the features I care about, which is like recording frame rates, and I like the uniqueness of the display approach. Of the displays I've looked at, the 10 has been the most gorgeous. I've used a Note 8 and I've used a Pixel 2, and the Pixel 2 was just god awful, and the Note 8 was pretty good. It was a nice display, but it wasn't much different than the S8. I just like the unique approach the 10 took. Yeah, I'm not a fan of VR. I'm not saying VR is dead. I'm not saying VR is not is a fad. It's going to be here to stay, but it's definitely not as substantial as AR. There's so much more potential with augmented reality than virtual reality. I can give you a 4-cent PayPal donation because that's all I have in my checking account now. Oh my god! And you just bought a Boring Company hat from Elon Musk. Yeah, that was worth it. Uh, yeah, I don't need the 10-cent donations on PayPal. That's okay. I don't really have a wish list for iOS 12. A lot of people are asking that. I don't. There's not a ton of things I can think of, but I just trust that Apple's thinking harder about it than I am. There's a lot of things they could change to the iPhone 10, but that doesn't really affect everyone. So I think the next big thing, at least for Apple, is going to be AR glasses. I think that can definitely change the way you use all of your products. And I think with the ecosystem Apple has right now, AR glasses would complement all of them perfectly. AR glasses could add holographs to your watch. It could add holographs to your phone. You could add external monitors that aren't real to your MacBook. And you could highlight where to drive on the road when you're wearing AR glasses and driving. Like, there's so much potential for AR technology to affect all of your Apple devices. That's what I think the next big thing is for them. But that is going to be expensive, and it's not going to be for everyone. I'm anticipating like a $2,000 starting price. Um, and there's going to be a whole nother wave of debates about that. Of people are like, it can't replace the smartphone, and people be mad because all of the computing power that the AR glasses use is done on the iPhone, and the glasses aren't independent, and they won't be independent for a while. VR is a method of gaming. I wouldn't say it's the future of gaming, though. I having messed around with VR and knowing the limitations of it, I feel like VR closes more doors than it opens. It definitely opens new ideas for virtual reality, and it opens new ideas for gaming, but it's not going to become flagship gaming. It's not going to become the most popular form of gaming. That's still going to be held by PC and console. Um, AR sucks right now, yes, but in the future, I think it has the most likeliness to be of higher potential. All they got to do is shrink down processors and batteries and stuff them into this, and then they're able to project. You can already project pixels on top of transparent glass. So that technology's there. It's just shrinking it. Like Microsoft HoloLens is getting ahead of themselves. They've got AR glasses, but they look ridiculous. Apple's waiting for those to be consumer ready. Apple's not going to make hardware just for developers. I'm gonna try to make the Sunday live stream permanent. I'll try to, but no promises. Of course, that can change. What do you think of Apple putting Face ID around the edges, therefore replacing the notch? I don't think that's possible. I think they would have considered that. First of all, Face ID, I believe, is partially used with the front-facing camera. So if you put them around the edges, it would make the FaceTime camera a little awkward. Also, I don't think you can stuff those sensors into these. I think part of this is being used to hold the display down, from what I've read. The OLED technology. The reason they're able to make it the same size all the way around is because they kind of pull it down a bit. I don't think that's possible, but if it was, yeah, it would be great. But yeah, then where do you go with the earpiece? I wish they did what Essential did. Um, embed it between the stainless steel and the glass. I don't know if that's possible with the 10, but I definitely think they could remove the notch in the future, but it won't be for a while. I don't think next year's iPhones will ditch it, personally. Should Apple buy Adobe? Adobe wouldn't do that. I mean, I'm kind of in the boat of Apple should buy whoever possible, because then they could make it an exclusive Apple thing, which I'd be fine with. But oh, Luke asked that question. I've gotten this question a lot of times, but I like answering it because it changes. If you were forced to buy a laptop, tablet, phone, and smartwatch, and none of these could be Apple products, what would you buy? So this is an interesting question. Okay, so laptop, probably a Surface device. They're really good products. I just think they're kind of overpriced and unnecessary. But probably a Surface device or a Dell XPS, which is pretty good. A tablet, I would likely get a Surface Pro. So maybe the laptop would be a Dell, and then the tablet would be a Surface Pro. And then a phone would likely be the Note 8, right now, as of now. That when the S9 comes out, probably that. And then smartwatch would be a S Gear, because the S Gear smartwatch was far better designed than Android Wear. Android Wear is a mess. Having used it. I still hate these theoretical questions, is because a lot of the time they're like, what phone would you get if it couldn't be a Galaxy or an iPhone? And it has to run Windows. Like, it's like, what are you asking? I hate those, because it's like, thankfully, I don't have to answer that, because it's not reality. Yeah, Dell XPS is a very nice computer. It just runs Windows 10, which I don't like. No, that's one thing I would expect Apple to fix about Face ID, and they haven't yet, is that it does not work sideways, which I find bizarre, because I feel like the infrared sensors on the iPhone 10 are kind of shooting out into a circle, right? I understand that the Face ID sensors are kind of oriented downward a little bit, because they know that you're using your phone like this more often, and the notch is at the top more than you are pointing directly at the notch. Like, that's not as common. But it doesn't work like this. Like, even if you're looking at it sideways, the notch, it doesn't work. It's like, that's not your face, and then you hold it like this, and then it works. Which I find bizarre. Or upside down. And Touch ID, yeah, works in every orientation. So I'm wondering if just because they were trying to get the iPhone 10 out and ready as fast as possible, they didn't activate that. Maybe they'll activate it later. I don't know. I feel like it should work, but it's not, yeah. Will iPhone SE2 have a home button / headphone jack? There's still a possibility there won't be an SE2. I think most likely the SE2 will not change much. If anything, it'll be like a glass back, and then the front's exactly the same. That's what I find most likely. I didn't get Everything Apple Pro's concept, because he was like, no, they wouldn't put Face ID on here, but he didn't talk about Touch ID. And I was like, I don't think Apple would introduce a product without Face ID or Touch ID. That would be drastically behind the times. I don't think they're ready to embed a Touch ID sensor in the display, and I don't think Apple would put Touch ID on the back either. So I didn't get that concept. I would say that they would either add Touch ID or not change the front of it at all and still stick with the home button. Why did you buy the 8? Because so many people wanted me to review it. Everyone was like, can you talk about the 8 before the 10 comes out? And once we found out that the 10 wasn't coming out for 2 months. See, originally I thought everything was going to come out at the same time, in which case I would not have reviewed the 8. I would not have reviewed 8 Plus and 10 at the same time. Luckily, I think Apple did the right thing and said, we'll do the 8 Plus first, let a couple months go by, and then unveil the 10. So that's how people got excited for the 8. It gave us something to hold our interest until the 10 was available. He mentioned it getting second-gen Touch ID. Where would that be, though? Because it's not ready to go in the display, and that would definitely mess with the gesture control. It would just look different. What's your opinion on Chromebooks and how restricting the software is? I'm not a fan of Chromebooks. They're just really cheap. I mean, you know my opinion on cheap products, and I'm just not a fan of devices that their main purpose is how affordable they are. I'd rather have a good product. That's probably just because I'm an Apple sheep. There are, like the OnePlus 5T, perfectly good phone. It's super cheap, which is great, but it's not the best, so I'm not that terribly interested in it. And same with Google Home Mini, which I'll be reviewing pretty soon. Maybe tomorrow you might get that review. I've kind of made up my mind about it. Is that just because a product is cheap, that does not make it worth it. yes, it doesn't hurt your bank account very much, but I'm more recommending that you save your money and buy something better because it's like, well, you could buy for the price of one HomePod, you could buy like 8 Google Home Minis, and it's like, okay, now you have 8 bad speakers. That doesn't improve the quality of the experience. Whereas having one speaker that sounds good, I think is more important. Maybe that's just me, but I think speakers should sound good. What kind of world are we living in now, where it's like we buy speakers, but not because they sound good? Yeah, I don't know. Yes, upgrading from the first generation Apple Watch to third generation is worth it. It's noticeably better. I love Apple Pay Cash. I've been using it all the time. What is Project 2X? It's top secret. That's why it's called Project 2X. If it wasn't top secret, I would just tell you. I can tell you. No, no, no. No hints. $15 for a hint. They got to provide incentives because it costs a lot of money. And I'm trying my best to make topics that get a lot of views. That way we can move into Project 2X smoothly. Did you realize there are 15 different iPad models? Are there really? That's a lot. No, Angel, no. Uh, what are your biggest problems with Windows 10? Mostly updates. A lot of people don't realize I use Windows 10 on a daily basis. So it's not like I had a couple bad experiences and it went south. And you can look this up yourself. It's not just me. It's not an isolated incident because I know a lot of people are like, you Windows 10 works fine for me. What's your problem with it? My problem is every time I use it, I run into the same problems, which is all you can do is look up on YouTube Windows 10 force restart rage quit, and you will get plenty of results. And I've experienced this as well. Whenever we're using our Windows 10 gaming PC next door, we'll just be doing something normal. Then all of a sudden, crash. Your PC has run into a problem. It needs to update. Or it'll stop or just be like, updates are ready. And then when you want to turn on the computer, it takes it an extra 10 minutes because it's like, your updates are ready. Your updates are ready. And when I use Windows 10 on my MacBook, it's always like I turn it on and it's like, there's some more security updates you have to install. macOS has updates, but it's very, very easy to not install them. You can just be like, I don't want to install them. You just swipe it away. Whereas Microsoft will do pop-up after pop-up, or in the start menu, it'll be like, do you want to update and then shut down, or do you want to update and then restart? Like, it won't give you the option. I've tweeted about this, or it was on Instagram or something. It was just, in the start menu, it was like, you can update and shut down the computer, or update and restart the computer. And when you're on a MacBook, you don't have the option of just unplugging the device. So now you have no choice but for the device to update. And sometimes you'd be in the middle of working on something and it'll just say, it's time to update now. Like, there's tons of live streamers who would be in the middle of really, really important gameplay for their channel. And then the gameplay would crash or minimize and say, Windows 10 has updates ready for you. Like, it's mostly updates. They're too over the top with them. There's too many of them. And I don't like that Windows 10 is designed for a touchscreen on so many devices that don't have touchscreens. They went for a one size fits all, which I don't think is true. I like Apple saying that if you want a touchscreen, use iOS. If you don't want a touchscreen, use macOS. Like, each platform is more specified. There's more options in that way. It's like, if you want something to be good at being a computer, you get macOS. And it's not trying to be a touchscreen and also trying to be a desktop. That's annoying. Whereas iPad is not trying to be a desktop. It's just trying to be a touch interface. I think that's smarter. I prefer that approach. Windows 10 is trying to be, oh, we can do everything. It felt like Windows 7 was great. I used to have Windows 7 on my PC, and I loved it. It was fine. Not as good as macOS, just for optimization reasons, but it was fine. I had no problems with it. And then they were like, we want to make Windows Mobile a thing where we have one OS across all of our platforms. So they changed their UI so much so that it would be touch-friendly with tablet mode and the tiles and everything. But then Windows Mobile failed, and even Microsoft admits now that they're not really interested in the mobile industry anymore, but they're keeping around the touch stuff. So I don't know. I don't know why that stuck around. I was like, I thought if Windows Mobile failed, they would go back to kind of their Windows 7 roots and just make an OS that's meant to be a desktop. Oh, for those of you wondering, I had this happen one morning. Keep in mind, I'm on the beta program, so I've run into a couple glitches. It's mostly been clean, but I didn't know how to force restart my iPhone 10. It's actually very interesting. You click up, down, and then on the volume buttons, okay, you go up, down, and then hold the side button, and it'll force restart. I thought you just held the top volume and the power button, and it would force restart. But apparently that's shut down. What's different is force restart, which is volume up, down, side, and then just hold the side, and it'll force restart. So I saw someone asking about that, and I didn't know that's how you force restarted. Now I do. So for those of you wondering, I thought that was weird, but what do you think about Linux? It's looked so complicated the few times I've messed with it, and I think Windows is too complicated. So I'm just like, no, thank you. I did not get affected by the 12:15 glitch. I saw the video about it, everything Apple Pro talked about it, but no, it did not happen to me. So I was kind of like, okay. And a lot of it actually didn't happen to a lot of people. They were like, it only happens if you have certain apps. I think it was kind of blown out of proportion. Everyone's like, everyone's phone is restarting at 12:15. Major glitch, major glitch. And I don't think it happened to as many people as we thought. You did get affected. Okay, so there's one person. 6.3 is weird. Yeah, it is weird. Good thing this is 6.5. 6.5-inch display. What would the first thing you would change at Apple if Tim offered you a job? I would raise the price of the 10. Oh, and everyone would hate me. First thing I would do if Tim offered me a job. Oh, not his job. A job. I would probably just want to move all of Taylosive Tech onto an Apple exclusive media service and have Apple create a YouTube competitor. That's what I would pitch to him, but they probably wouldn't go for it. Like, what if Taylosive Tech was available early on Apple Music, and then you got it on YouTube a day later? Like, then they would pay me for that, so I wouldn't have to worry about Google demonetizing everything. And I'd be working for Apple anyway, so they would just give me all their stuff, and I wouldn't have to wait. Like, I would have the iMac Pro now, dang it. Would you put a skin on any of your Apple products? I put a skin on my 6 Plus, and I didn't like it. It didn't age very well, so I'm not a skin guy anymore. Force restart is weird now. It shows the shutdown screen doesn't instantly restart. That is really weird, to be honest. It needs some time to getting used to. Well, the thing is, you shouldn't be force restarting very often. Crashes aren't that common, at least. I've only needed to force restart one time, and it was because the phone wasn't turning on. I was very concerned. And I knew it was some kind of software thing because it was on the charger all night. And I was like, that's not right. That's not good. And then I looked online, and they were like, force restart is up volume, down volume, side. And I did that, and it booted right back up at 100%. It was fine. So anyway, it's been a fun Sunday live stream, guys. Going to be working on tomorrow's video. Hope you guys enjoyed today's Galaxy S9 video. Thank you for your comments and donations. Appreciate them all. Of course, if you want to be a moderator, that is possible on Patreon. Don't forget to check out Taylosive Talks, Gaming, the main channel, music, everything, food reviews, movie reviews. They're all there. There's all kinds of channels you guys can check out. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is your Apple Ship here, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day.